It is Thursday, December 4th, 2019. And we're going to talk a little bit about the propeller. We took the propeller off, drove it over to Tulsa to Aircraft Associations of Oklahoma. They've got it tore apart, and in their inspection, they found in the hub the part where the blades go into the middle part where everything happens in the middle, that the hub itself has got a crack. They did an eddy current, non-destructive testing eddy current, where it's using electricity and singing out, putting out a ping and resonance and vibrating. Again, it's got a ultrasonic reader, ultrasonic head that reads the shock wave, so to speak, and it finds cracks. So the hub is cracked and not repairable, which somehow Connie was, I really appreciate you, Connie, for making sure I really take a look at this propeller. So we found another hub in California, and it's going to be sent out to Tulsa, and it's $1,000. So I'm going to pay $1,000 for a hub. And then the other thing that was wrong with it was the center cone cap in the middle, the black piece, where everything kind of, the oil and everything happened inside there. The cylinder, they call that a cylinder sleeve, was bad. So that's this piece here. This is the cylinder. This is the part that goes on the end of the propeller and gets bolted on, and this is filled with oil, and then over the parts and all the actions happen in the propeller. So the inside of this was bad on the propeller that we took them, that was on the plane. So this was bad, the hub is bad, and so, but everything else seems to be in good working order. I'm going to ask them to replace all the nuts and bolts and washers, all the hardware components. I want all changed, because this propeller, not this one, but the propeller that we took to them, served a hard life and a lot of vibration, because even when we pull up these kind of components and we see what all the brackets and everything that happened to them and how bad they were vibrated out and wasted. Won't focus. And so this is all going to have to be repaired or replaced. I did find a whole fuel injection assembly off of I470L on eBay for $200, and that includes the mixture control and everything together, including the fuel lines. But they look old, but the end fittings are still good. So the vibration that this whole engine went through with that propeller on the end of it, not that one, but the one that's going to go on, and all that whole, and all the propeller and all the way to the edges, you know, the blades on the propeller, they've had shock wave through their, completely through them. So they're shock waving. The component, the hardware parts are shock waving. The engine's shock waving, and all the fuel injection lines and everything, and the fuel pump and everything, oil pump, magnetos, everything is vibrating really bad. The air box, look how bad the air box is. That air box has had life rattled out of it, and that just a sign that throughout the entire flight envelope of this airplane, that it's had a strong vibration in this engine. I don't see the signs in the other engine. I don't in the left or the port engine, but this right engine is seen a vibration throughout most of its life. So I'm trying to. I'll get the propeller balanced and then get it on, get everything mounted, get it running. And then one of my first tasks, I'm going to go and fly to a place that does the propeller balancing. And I'm gonna then we put measurements on the engine and everything else, and so first we'll get statically balanced, and then after it's running and it's working, we'll take it to a shop and get it dynamically balanced. And that's like on your car tire that you put on a tire machine. And you put your tire on the machine and spin it, and they put the same components on the engine right in front of the propeller, and RPM and balance, so you know exactly where on a 360-degree circle where the weight needs to be to balance it. So we'll get that balance. So between the two of them, hopefully that engine will get imbalanced. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to do it about every couple hundred hours to have it rebalanced, because that seems to be what I've heard and it's problemed. So we're getting there. Instead of $1,100, I was expecting to spend to get the propeller looked at and inspected and cleaned up and put back together. Now we're pushing 22. So right now we're pushing $2,300 by the time I mailed this thing there. Counting the fuel today, we drove, and the guy that had this, Tim Abney, I think that's his name. He's got a prop shop just 2 hours south here in Arkansas, right on he's in Arkansas on the Louisiana border. And so drove way out in the woods, so to speak, and found nice guys, nice people, nice clean shop. I should have took a little video of it. I got to work on doing videos with other people. I kind of talk one-on-one and don't want to involve other people, so to speak, at this stage. But I got to get a better holder. Yeah, I got a hand holder and it's not really the best. So I got to figure out something else. Though we are getting up to now, so we're, instead of $1,000 for the prop, we're probably $2,500 by the time we're done. I'm hoping that's all it is. So now the budget for the prop's $2,500, and so now that's props getting worked on and stuff's getting taken care of. They're getting the hub from California, getting sent in. They found the hub. I found the cylinder. They found the hub. They're going to have the hub sent in. Tomorrow I'm going to go to the post office and ship this over to them in Tulsa. And then my job is now back to this and all the hardware components, all the nuts, and getting the order right and getting it in here into the different houses which we're going to order, because some houses don't have it. Some houses are more expensive than others. So I'm going through an algorithm, working this sheet and developing an actual hard order. So I've now done enough homework to figure out what's needed, where it all is, and gone through it extensively, backwards and forwards, because there's old numbers, there's new numbers, there's new numbers, there's old numbers, and you got to work your way through it in order to get a decent order, meaning that you're finding these parts that are kind of hard to find or kind of weird, so to speak. You're being able to find them and then find them for the right price. It's for example, God bless Tim and his crew, he charged me $50 for this. So for Crockett Leasing to fix the Red Baron was $50. I texted him and asked him if he had one, and he said he'll look today. And he texted me back this morning at 8 o'clock saying he's got one. And I texted him back, what you asking for it? And he said, take $50 for it. So I drove all the way, I drove 2 hours down south from where I am, met them, checked out their shop, and then I gave them 3 $20 bills. I said, here you go, thank you very much. And I said 320s will work. So I gave them $60 for it, and chatted a little bit with the guy, with them there, good people. But the other shop that I did find this part brand new at another prop shop, and they wanted $2,400 for it. So if I were to tell the prop shop guys, yeah, just grab and, you know, get a new, just order a new one. To order a new one of these from McCauley, because they show a listing, they don't show it obsolete. They got a part number there. Their price is $2,800. I was getting a deal from this other guy that had a brand new one for $2,400. He was selling it to me for $400 off retail. $2,400 for a piece of metal that you can stick your hand in the middle of. There's $2,400 worth of metal right there, right? Or $2,800 if you go out to the factory. The factory price is $2,800 for this stainless steel cook pot, right? Where are they? I mean, they're not no different than cook pots, right? You put your toothbrush in it, put some silverware in it, right? Does that look like $2,800 to you? Would you pay $2,800 for something that you can put your dishes in? Can't even drink out of it. It's got a hole in the bottom. So, and this has been fixed. So this has gone through the service bulletin. So there's a service bulletin for this prop where these 2 holes were normally studs. So these holes were bigger than the rest, drilled out because they slid over 2 studs. Well, the service bulletin has them drilling out the studs and putting in and tap, you know, helicoil it for the same size as the rest of the bolts or screws or whatever they are. And then it looks like they put inserts. I don't know if they're aluminum insert or steel insert, but that shiny part that you see, and the rest of them don't have it, because it's had an insert put in it, so it can have a bolt on it or a screw. I think it's a screw, instead of the stud. So it has more clamping force. But doing my homework and having my resources and knowing where to call, it's still in my backpack. The main, where I've got a bunch of lists, I go down the list. I got prop shops, I got salvage yards, I got all these different places to call, and I found this for $50. Thank God. This was a blessing from Tim and his family is what that is. Because that I could have then, well, a new one's $2,400 or $2,800. I could find one for $1,000 and think I got a good deal. I found one for $50 and I feel blessed beyond imagination. And that is the whole key to owning an airplane and managing it and being responsible for the logistics supply chain of all your hardware, software, nuts and bolts, rubber gaskets, seals, all that stuff. As the owner, you're responsible for it, whether you defer it to the mechanic and say order it and just bill it on my credit card, or you go and you take the books yourself and you go through it yourself item by item and shop the market and figure out who's selling what, who's got what, where's best value. You know, it's not the cheapest price, where's best value, because that $1,000, you know, I may have to pay it. That one may not work right. I mean, there still might be something wrong with that. And I might have to go back out in the market for a $1,000 one. At this point, I found another prop that's for sale, the whole thing together on eBay for $2,500, and I think they'd take 2. So if I bought that prop for 2 and brought it over there, I'd have a whole nother prop with parts. So it's a balancing act. Do I spend $2,000 on another prop, or do I $50 here and $1,000 for a hub out of California, and they're able to put it back together, or no issues? So it's this constant. It's management. That's why it's not an easy job being an air operations manager, so to speak. Wears a lot of different hats if you don't have a staff. If it's all you and you're trying to run a budget and you're on a fixed income and you got enough to make the project work, but I mean you're not rolling in it, so to speak. You can't go out and just lay down another $100,000 to get stuff done. Well, you have to learn to do it yourself and figure out where not to cut corners, but to find and locate savings, value, and cash. Obviously, is the last thing you want to get rid of. I mean, if you can trade, you can barter, you do your own work, you get in there and turn your own wrenches under supervision. You follow the numbers and you do it right, and do as much as you can do it yourself as an owner operator. Well, you can own a nice airplane and afford it. Barely, but you can afford it. It's once you buy it, you get the first initial wave of maintenance through. You knock out the big chunks of it. On your list, you get most of that done. Now, that's not counting new interior, new paint job, and new engines. No, I'm just getting it airworthy and operational and safe. Now, it may need an engine to do that. You may need to reskin some aluminum if it got corroded and punctured through. You may need to do some of these things in order to make it airworthy, but you do it which need to be done. You just get that part of the job done, and you try to manage it where other work needs to be done or other work is going to be done, and you can time it where it gets done, so to speak, together. Or once that's open, they can do this and you can do that, and know your limitations. But it's not very difficult as a car mechanic, as a tank diesel mechanic, track mechanic, recovery, as a mechanic all my life. Working on airplanes is easy, very easy. It's probably one of the easiest jobs I've ever seen as far as turning wrenches, as long as you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it's the scariest thing. It's the most unknown, and part numbers and scarce resources. They don't make that part no more, but there's a dozen over in Seattle or something. You just do it to the best of your ability and pace yourself. You don't have to be in a rush to get it up. Well, if you're going to buy a plane, you're on a budget and you're buying a plane, you're going to make it work, just be prepared that it's going to take 3 times longer to get done than you expect. It's third. So I work on the 80-20 rule, and I work on the thirds rule. And stuff like this, operationally speaking, everything's a third. Third for operations expense, or that's fuel, whatever, just the software, the expenditure stuff. So there's a third there. Third on hardware, or on hard stuff, nuts and bolts, whatever you're going to have to get, the really high quality stuff. You spend some extra money, have the prop overhaul, things like that. There's a third. And then you've got a third. It's either you're going to pay someone to do it, or you're going to do it for that third. And so you really work for you personally as an employee of your own operation. A third of that income, so take taxes and everything out of that. So it's really you looking at a quarter of that income. So if you save $1,000, you can think of it as you put $250 worth of your labor, charge labor. So maybe 5-6 hours, something like that of work you did, and it saved you $1,000. Well, you think of yourself as being paid for that third, because it's going to be in value. If not, you're going to have to pay someone to do it and find an A&P or take it to a shop that's certified and repair station type stuff that will do that kind of work, that's fine. But if you have the ability and the wherewithal and the resources and the supervision, you can do a lot of this yourself and save that 1/3. So I can't get away from the 1/3 on fuel and cost of living and food and all that other stuff that goes into operations, per diem, let's call it. So 1/3 goes out that. The other third is the nuts and bolts and washers, all the parts and everything else that's going to all go on back, put the plane back together and make it stable. So that 1/3 is going to be who does the work, plus taxes. So by the time it gets done, you can really calculate yourself at 10%. So if you saved $1,000, you made yourself $100 worth of work. You did $100 worth of work to get that $1,000. So there's a whole give and take. It's a whole up and down. 1 minute you think you got $1,000 propeller maintenance repair job. The next minute you got $2,500 maintenance job. And you got to take them as they come. So as of this morning, last night I was at $1,000 to get the propeller done. Get up this morning, get things worked out, and I'm at $2,500. If there went $1,500, we're $1,500 just right off the table. It's going to go right out of the account. Hard money, $1,500 hard money, not something I can go do. But I can. So instead of being $1,500, it could have been another $2,500 if I had to pay $1,000 for a toothbrush holder. Blessed. So now I'm at $2,500, and I'm thankful to Heavenly Father. I am totally thankful that my bill so far is $2,500, and if need be, I got another $1,000 to put to it for $3,500. I don't really want to do that, but I was prepared from that at the beginning. I was hoping, because they said it had an oil filled hub, because this hub fills with oil and it usually doesn't have there's usually no problems. So I was hoping like mad that there wasn't going to be any problems, but Connie knows that there was something wrong with that prop and it needed to be looked at. And I'm very grateful that he pushed and that I listened. See, I still got to listen. I get told, but as soon as I bought that airplane, it's not his responsibility anymore. Whose responsibility is it? Right? Not Connie's. And I go out and I fix this thing and make it run all good and make it all looking pretty and baffles and everything. And at 10,000 feet, and when the blades come off, the prop comes off or something, comes unglued at altitude. That's not the place to happen. And what happens if you lose a blade, the balance becomes so out of kilter that it ends up ripping the engine right out of the motor mounts. It'll literally just tear the engine right out. And now you're out. Now you don't have the weight on the wing, and you got the weight on the other wing. What's your, right? And then that's if the blade didn't get slung into the fuselage when it let go. So yeah, it's bad when a prop lets go, because it generally takes the engine with it. And then when you do that, your weight and balance goes completely out the window, and you've pretty much lost flight control, the ability to recover. It's just, there's been miracles, there's been stories where it's happened and they've landed in a field and they all mysteriously lived. But there's more stories of the thing just goes upside down and corkscrews right in, nose first, and no debris field. It's all one place, just bleh. And that's how you go in. If you lose an engine, if you lose a prop, and the prop takes the engine with it, you're going to go just straight ahead. You're going to do a header right into the dirt, which, going to go anyway, one way or another. Take your choice. My choice is not. My choice is to do the job right. So I live another way. Live to fight another day. Anyway, that's enough ramble for Crockett Leasing, and keep you posted on the prop. Ciao.